Makebi breaks silence. I'll fix what Bill 7 destroyed, National Recovery Plan revealed. Bill 7 has passed, but the political shockwaves are far from over. Now, Makebi Zulu says Zambia has been betrayed, and claims the country needs national recovery. It's a bold declaration at a volatile moment. Is this the birth of a new political movement, or a familiar rallying cry after legislative defeat? Tonight, we examine what Makebi actually said, why now, and what this moment could mean for Zambia's opposition politics. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. It's been quite a week in Zambian politics, hasn't it? The kind of week that makes you wonder what's happening to the country we all love. And today, we have a story that's been developing rapidly, one that's sending shockwaves through Lusaka and beyond. Our lead story tonight. A constitutional lawyer rises from a hospital bed after surviving what some are calling a near-fatal accident. His first words? A declaration of war, not with weapons, but with the law itself. This is the story of Makebi Zulu's dramatic return to the political stage, and his explosive promise to fix what Bill 7 has destroyed. Picture this scene, December 9, 2025. A vehicle careens off the Mpikakasama Road, tumbling through the air before crashing to the ground. Inside, three men who would become central figures in one of Zambia's most contentious constitutional battles. The twisted metal, the shattered glass, the blood, it could have been the end of their story. But instead, it became the beginning of something else entirely. What drives a man to rise from a hospital bed, his body still healing from trauma, to face down what he calls the greatest constitutional betrayal in Zambian history? How does a bill that was declared dead by the Constitutional Court somehow resurrect itself, zombie-like, to stalk the halls of Parliament once more? Who benefits when opposition MPs suddenly, mysteriously, vote against their own party's position on the most critical constitutional question of our generation? What happens when the highest court in the land makes a ruling, and Parliament simply dances in celebration of defying it? And what kind of leader emerges from the wreckage, both literal and political, to say, I will fix what has been destroyed? Tonight, we dig deep into the story of Bill 7, a constitutional amendment that is torn at the very fabric of Zambian democracy. We explore the mysterious passage of legislation that civil society, the church, and legal experts have condemned. We examine the price of political betrayal. And we ask, when the rule of law itself is under siege, who will defend it? When Parliament defies the Constitutional Court, what becomes of democracy? And when MPs sell their votes to the highest bidder, what hope remains for the people they claim to represent? The answers might surprise you. Or perhaps, they'll confirm your worst fears. Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back several months, to trace the twisted journey of what would become known as Bill 7. The story begins in Lusaka, in the corridors of power, where President Hakainde Hichilema's UPND government began pushing for constitutional amendments. The official narrative was simple. Bill 7 would address constitutional lacunas, those gaps in the law that supposedly threatened the smooth functioning of democracy. The timing? Convenient. Just months before the 2026 elections. But constitutional lawyer Makebi Zulu, a prominent figure in the opposition Patriotic Front, saw something else entirely. What the government called closing gaps, he called entrenching power. His suspicions deepened when he examined the actual provisions. Extending parliamentary tenure until the day before elections rather than dissolving parliament 3 months prior, expanding constituencies, increasing the number of MPs without clear budgetary frameworks. November 2, 2025, Makebi Zulu releases his first public statement calling for the immediate withdrawal of Amendment Bill No. 7, describing it as unconstitutional, divisive, and lacking in national consensus. He warns that the government has suspended engagement with the Oasis Forum and civil society, deliberately undermining the legitimacy of the consultation process. Late November 2025, the Constitutional Court delivers a landmark ruling in the case of Munir Zulu and Celestine Mukandila v. Attorney General. The court declares Bill 7 legally dead, ruling that the bill failed to meet the constitutional requirement of wide public consultation.
The judgment is clear, unambiguous, and binding.
December 2, 2025, in what Makebi Zulu would later call an act of open defiance, the Minister of Justice returns to Parliament seeking reinstatement of Bill 7. The Deputy Speaker directs the relevant committee to begin scrutinizing the bill, even before any new bill is properly gazetted. Makebi Zulu notes that no gazette notice exists for any new draft bill, meaning the government is attempting to revive a legislative instrument the court had already nullified.
December 5, 2025.
Makebi Zulu launches a fresh legal assault, filing an explosive petition before the Constitutional Court. The petition accuses the government of resurrecting a bill that the court had pronounced legally dead, arguing that nationwide consultations conducted by the Technical Committee on Constitutional Amendments were rushed, inadequate, and designed merely to create an illusion of public participation.
December 9, 2025.
In what would become a haunting moment of foreshadowing, Makebi Zulu, along with former Minister of Mines Richard Musukwa and former DMMU National Coordinator Chanda Kabwe, travels north to Kasama to attend the funeral of Patriotic Front Central Committee member and Kasama Mayor Teresa Kalala Kumalo.
At approximately 25 kilometers from Kasama on the Mpika-Kasama Road, their vehicle encounters a cyclist crossing the road.
The driver swerves. Police would later cite excessive speed as the cause.
The vehicle loses control and overturns. All three men are rushed to Kasama General Hospital.
Initial reports describe their injuries as minor, but sources close to the family would later characterize the accident as near fatal. They are examined, treated, and eventually discharged, but the recovery process is ongoing.
December 12, 2025.
While Makebi Zulu recovers, his legal team, operating through Makebi Zulu advocates, files contempt of court proceedings against the Speaker of the National Assembly, members of the Select Committee, and the Minister of Justice. The application follows the Constitutional Court's procedural guidance and is described as procedurally compliant and legally fortified.
December 15, 2025, the moment of betrayal arrives.
Despite legal challenges, despite constitutional rulings, despite opposition from civil society, the church, and governance experts, the National Assembly passes Bill 7 at second reading. But here's where the story takes its most shocking turn. Several opposition members of parliament, including members of Makebi Zulu's own Patriotic Front, vote in favor of the bill, contrary to their party's stated position.
The chamber erupts. But not in outrage. In celebration.
Speaker Nellie Moody, the presiding officer who was supposed to remain impartial, begins dancing on the floor of Parliament. The image is broadcast nationwide, the Speaker, celebrating what critics call the death of constitutional democracy, moving her body in rhythmic defiance of the Constitutional Court's ruling. December 19, 2025, 6 days after the accident, still recovering, Makebi Zulu emerges. His first public appearance since the crash. A press conference. Senior party officials, clergy, media members gathered. And there, with his voice still carrying the weight of trauma but his words sharp as ever, Makebi Zulu delivers his most powerful statement yet. Direct evidence. Standing before the gathered crowd, his body still healing but his resolve unshaken, Makebi Zulu began to speak. His words, transcribed from the press conference, tell the story better than any narrator could. What unfolded in Parliament does not represent the collective conscience of our party or of the people of Zambia, Makebi Zulu said, his voice steady despite everything he'd been through. It is instead the result of individual moral failure, where personal ambition triumphed over national duty. He paused, letting that sink in. Personal ambition. National duty. The weight of those words hung in the air. The manner in which Bill 7 was advanced has severely undermined public confidence in Parliament and weakened democratic accountability, he continued. We are not talking about a simple disagreement over policy. We are talking about the systematic dismantling of the constitutional safeguards that protect every Zambian. When asked about the specific provisions of Bill 7, Makebi Zulu didn't mince words. We are increasing the number of members of parliament without a clear budgetary framework, he stated. This is happening while farmers remain unpaid, hospitals face medicine shortages, and essential agricultural inputs such as fertilizer are in short supply. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room.
More politicians, less medicine. More constituencies, less food security.
But it was when addressing the Constitutional Court's ruling that Makebi Zulu's frustration became palpable. When Parliament proceeds as though the highest court in the land does not matter, it sends a chilling message that legal limits on power are optional, not binding, he said. Those who swore an oath to defend the Constitution have instead chosen political convenience over principle, power over prudence, and partisan instructions over their duty to the Republic.
Someone from the media asked about Speaker Nelly Muti's stance.
The question drew murmurs from the crowd.
Makebi Zulu's response was withering.
The disgraceful display of a dance by Madam Speaker in celebration of what is open defiance of the judiciary is nothing short of lawlessness, immaturity, and a first in the Commonwealth to show the leaning of a presiding officer, he said.
Where are the men and women of conscience who should have stood up to say no? Where are the representatives prepared to lose their seats rather than lose their integrity? The questions kept coming. What about party discipline? What about the PFMPs who voted for Bill 7? Makebi Zulu's answer was unequivocal. If regaining the trust of the people requires difficult decisions, then so be it, he declared.
Political parties operate under established rules, including voting positions on major national matters. MPs who acted against agreed party positions have breached trust. Party discipline is necessary to restore credibility, and I would support any party decision to separate from members who acted against its principles. Restoring public confidence is more important than retaining parliamentary seats. But perhaps the most significant moment came when Makebi Zulu outlined his vision for the future.
This wasn't just about opposing Bill 7. This was about offering an alternative.
If elected, my administration would initiate a fresh, inclusive, and people-driven constitution-making process rooted in nationwide consultation, he pledged. The constitution belongs to the people of Zambia and cannot be altered by any temporary parliamentary majority through a process that violates the constitution itself. He continued, his voice growing stronger. While the Patriotic Front has historically supported constitutional reform, we reject any process driven by political expediency rather than popular consent. The only legitimate way forward is for the government to withdraw the bill, disband the technical committee, and establish a truly independent and broadly representative body to lead national consultations, in line with the Constitutional Court's guidance. When pressed about whether the setback of Bill 7's passage meant the battle was over, Makebi Zulu's response was defiant.
Zambians should not lose hope, he said. This setback can be reversed by electing a new president of Zambia next year who will prioritize repealing unjust and oppressive laws. I vow to champion a people-driven, inclusive, and transparent constitution-making process if elected president of Zambia next year.
The recovery plan, he explained, would extend far beyond constitutional matters. I promise to restore respect for the church, civil society, family values, and the media as partners in nation-building, Makebi Zulu outlined. I will create jobs for young people through industrialization, innovation, and a business-friendly environment free from corruption and favoritism. He continued with specifics. Agriculture, mining, tourism and technology will form the foundation of economic recovery, alongside efforts to reduce the cost of living and restore food security. I will prioritize Zambians by ensuring the nation's natural resources and energy serve the people first, with no longer industries starved while others thrive at their expense. I will rebuild international relations based on mutual respect and cooperation that improve ordinary lives. Addressing perceptions of division within the Patriotic Front, Makebi Zulu showed political maturity. Competition among presidential aspirants is a normal democratic process, he said. The party will unite behind a single candidate once internal processes conclude. As the press conference drew to a close, Makebi Zulu delivered what many in the room felt was the defining statement of his political career thus far. Zambia's recovery will require leaders willing to work with citizens rather than rule over them, he said. My presidential bid is grounded in service-oriented leadership, constitutional renewal, and national unity. I call on Zambians to democratically rise from disappointment, reclaim the country, and build a just, prosperous, and united Zambia. His final words carried both warning and hope. Today, I speak not to score political points, but to defend the values that bind us together: democracy, transparency, and the rightful voice of the people. Let us choose a path that honors the promises of democracy, one that is open, inclusive, and governed by the rule of law. May wisdom guide our decisions for the common good. Thank viewers. And that, dear viewers, is where we stand today in this unfolding constitutional drama. Thank you so much for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. I know it's been a long journey through the complexities of Zambian constitutional law and politics, but these are the stories that matter. These are the moments that define whether a democracy thrives or withers. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about Bill 7? Do you believe Makebi Zulu when he calls it a betrayal of public trust, or do you side with the government's position that it's necessary constitutional reform? What about the opposition MPs who voted against their party's position? Should they face discipline, or were they exercising their democratic right to vote their conscience? And perhaps most importantly, what does this controversy tell us about the state of democracy in Zambia? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation about this. And if you found this documentary valuable, please share it with others who care about democracy, constitutionalism, and the future of Zambia. These stories don't get enough attention in the mainstream media. It's up to us to make sure they're heard. We'll be following this story closely in the coming days and weeks. As the legal challenges proceed, as the political fallout continues to unfold, and as we approach the 2026 elections, we'll keep you updated. There's so much more to uncover, so many questions still to answer. Until tomorrow, when we'll be back with more stories that matter, this is Nakash, reminding you to stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop asking questions. The future of democracy depends on it. Take care, and God bless Zambia.